Okay, and so today we're going to look at algebraic fractions. So I suppose the first thing that we need to remember from our algebra is obviously just to revise over our adding and subtracting of expressions, multiplying them, simplifying them, factorizing them in the same way that we have up to now, and also then just our basic things there as well of like terms together, so letters together, numbers together, our basic algebra rules. And then the other aspect that we need to kind of bring together into our maths today is adding and subtraction fractions. So the same way that we would have added fractions or subtracted them from each other is the exact same way that we will deal with algebra. So it's the same as numbers, just this time we'll have some letters in it also. So again, our key words for this topic, you've seen them all before. So the lowest common denominator, okay? So the denominator, we know, well, that's the bottom part of the fraction. We want to be able to reduce it to its simplest form, and then later on we'll come on to division when it comes to using these fractions, okay? So our basic fraction, as we know from before, looks something like this. So we might have used fractions that had like 3/5 or 2/7, but now we're going to be looking at ones that might have 2/x plus 3, or equally they might have an algebra part on top, x plus 4, with maybe another algebraic expression on the bottom, and we might be asked to factorize or to simplify some of those, or to add and subtract them. Okay, so here, for example, we are asked to write this as a single fraction in its simplest form. So I'm going to begin by rewriting it. So I have 3x plus 2 over 5 minus x minus 4 over 2 minus 3. Well, 3 is the same as 3/1. And so that's going to form my fraction now. Now, my method for adding and subtracting fractions is that you take all the denominators, so 5, 2, and 1, and you place those on the bottom. You rewrite each term on top, so 3x plus 2, and you put brackets around it, minus, and here the next one minus x minus 4, and again with brackets around it, minus, and 3, and with brackets around it. And each time, or to be more specific, each term really, we want to see, well, what goes in front of this bracket here. So, well, if I go back to my original equation, 3x plus 2 was over 5. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to cover 5. So what's left for me on the denominators to multiply by? Well, I have 2 times 1, which is the same as just multiplying by 2. Then, similarly, my next term is my x minus 4 term, which was over 2. So this time I'm going to cover that. So now I'm going to have 5 and 1 are the only terms left, okay, on the bottom. Similarly then for my 3, well, 3 was over 1, so I come down and I cover my 1, and I see that the denominators left here are 5 and 2, okay. If you have any problems with this, just go back and have a look at my video on fractions, multiplying fractions on YouTube. So tidying these up, I'm just going to rewrite all of this again. So 5 by 2 on the bottom, well, that gives me 10. Here I can see, well, 2 by 1, I'm just going to rewrite these first, 3x plus 2, my bracket here with my x minus 4. And my last bracket with my 3, and they had minus signs. Okay, so now I know, well, 2 by 1, well, that's 2. 5 by 1 is 5, and 5 by 2 is 10. Okay. And in the exact same manner as we've been multiplying before, so I know that this 2 gets multiplied by the 3x, but it also gets multiplied by the 2. And so 2 by 3x gives me 6x plus 4. Okay? Here I know I have minus 5 multiplied by x and minus 5 by minus 4. Well, minus 5 by x gives me minus 5x. Minus 5 by 4 or minus 4, well, 5 by 4 gives me 20, and minus by minus gives me a plus. And then here, lastly, I have minus 10 multiplied by 3, so 10 by 3 gives me 30, and a minus by a plus gives me a minus. And all of that is all over 10. Okay? So as our basic rule for algebra says, like terms together. So I'm just going to rewrite my top part of my fraction here by putting my x terms together. So I have 6x minus 5x, and then my numerical terms, my number terms together, plus 4 plus 20 minus 30. And then the last bit then is just to finally tidy it up. So I know that 6x take away 5x, well, that's x. 4 plus 20 is 24, and 24 take away 30 is minus 6. And so that is my final answer. Okay, so this example, you can see we're asked to express this term as a single fraction, these two terms, in its simplest form. We can see that this time the algebra part is on the bottom. It's the denominator of the fraction. But we follow on in the same method. So here on the bottom I'm going to have x minus 3 bracket x plus 2 to get my common denominator. Then here I write my original terms again, so I have my 2 and I have my 4. And again I'm just going to make a little box here. You obviously can use your finger. Okay, and I'm going to see, well, here in this first one, 2 was over x minus 3. So if I cover that, well, what's left on the bottom, it is x plus 2. So this time I'm going to have bracket x plus 2. I put in my original plus there as well. And then I see here, well, 4 was over x plus 2, so I'm going to cover that here. And so this time I have 4 is multiplied by what remains open on the bottom on the denominator, which is the x minus 3 that I can see here. And after that, all I do now is I simply tidy it up. So I multiply in the exact same way as before. You'll also be very glad to know that in these kind of questions, you're not expected to multiply out or to tidy up, to multiply out the expressions on the bottom, just to leave them they're tidiest at that, in that manner. So here I will know that 2 multiplication is distributive, so 2 is multiplied by x and it's also multiplied by 2, and the same 4 will be multiplied by x and also by the 3. So first of all, 2 by x, well, that gives me 2x. 2 by 2, that gives me plus 4. Plus 4 by x, well, that gives me plus 4x. And 4 by 3 gives me 12, and a plus by a minus is a minus. Okay, and so our next rule from algebra asks that we group like terms together. So again, I'm just going to rewrite my terms on the bottom, my denominator, and I don't need to multiply it out. So my like terms together, well, 2x plus 4x I know is 6x. And then lastly, 4 minus 12, well, different signs, so I subtract. 12 take away 4 gives me 8, and I keep the sign of the bigger number, which was the 12 and is the minus. And my answer then is simply 6x minus 8 over x minus 3 times x plus 2. And no need for us to continue on there. That's tidied up perfectly. Okay, so one final example here. And this time we're asked to show that this algebraic expression can be written in another form. So these ones means basically we're given great direction. We know we want to make it look from this, we want to make it look like that. But we have something slightly different here. I want to have x minus 4 only on the bottom, but I know 4 minus x is a little bit similar to x minus 4, isn't it? If I was to rewrite this, I'd have minus x plus 4. that they're the same as each other. So now how would I get that to be x minus 4? That's my goal. Well, I know here I have to have a minus. So if I put that outside the brackets, minus by x gives me minus x. Minus by minus gives me plus 4. So that's the same thing. So essentially, I know here I have 3 over x minus 4 minus, and now I'm going to say that's minus in brackets 2 over minus x minus 4. Is that correct? So now what do I have? I have two minuses coming together here, don't I? So to tidy that up, I'm going to have that's 3 over x minus 4 over 2 over x minus 4, and my minus by minus makes that a plus. Now our big rule for adding and subtracting fractions, we know, is simply that the denominator must be the same in order to add and subtract them. So here we can see the denominator is in fact the exact same now. So x minus 4. So we simply rewrite our denominator, x minus 4, and our numerator becomes, well, 3 plus 2 is 5. And very quickly I can see I have completed the request. I have any number where a was a natural number, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on, over x minus 4, which is exactly what I have. So I've shown. So anytime I'm asked to show something and I do show it, I can write QED, quite easily done at the end. Okay, so pause the video now and attempt this question here as your learning check. Okay, so how did you get on? Well, the first thing that you should have done was to bring our two denominators together, the 3 and the 2. And then, just to rewrite what was already given, so 2x plus 1 in the first, and our second brackets is the 3x minus 1, the second term. Now, as we know, we are to see, well, 2x plus 1 was over 3, so if I cover 3, all I'm left with is my 2. So that's what goes outside the first bracket. Again, 3x minus 1 was over 2, so I'm going to cover that, and it means I'm left with 3 outside my second bracket. And so then I'm just going to multiply those in to tidy it up. So here I'm going to have, on the bottom, well, 3 by 2 I know is 6, and here I know, well, 2 gets multiplied by 2x, which is 4x. 2 also gets multiplied by plus 1, which makes me 2 by 1 is 2, so it's a plus. Here we have 3 times 3x. Well, 3 times 3x is 9x, and they're both positive, so that's a positive number. And then likewise, 3 times 1, well, 3 by 1 is 3, and this time it's a positive by a minus, so that's going to be a minus. And then, as we always do in algebra, it's our like terms together. So again, it's over 6 as I tidied up. So 4x plus 9x, well, that gives me 13x. And 2, take away 3, different signs subtract, so 3 take away 2 gives me 1, and I keep the sign of the bigger number. So 13x minus 1 over 6, if you got that, that should be your final answer, and with a big red box around it. So you're ready then to move on to the activity questions in your Schoology folder.